Because times like these really call for clear minds. We need to be able to think as clearly as we possibly can. But as I say, it's really difficult when anxiety is high. And what experience can we draw on right now? Because we haven't been through this experience before. So this is what we are about to think about. We're going to think as clearly as we can about what you will face. And we're going to lean into some relationship psychology that might help you be clear about and prepare for your role, because that's really what we're here to do. What is your role in the room? And interwoven in that, like this little fish thing that I'm doing here, interwoven in that are these 5 sustaining truths. These things actually that hopefully we can kind of hold in our hand and refer to as we, as we step forward, as we step over the threshold and begin to teach in this new environment. So first of all, then we're going to consider what your role is as a teacher, as the adult in the room. Secondly, we're going to think about the role of the institution in keeping teachers and children safe, because the institution, of course, has a role in that. Thirdly, we're going to explore how you can prepare yourself, not just professionally, but personally for what lies ahead. And fourthly, these 5 truths, as I say, we're going to hopefully have those at the end of the presentation in our hands, and they'll weave through as we go. So first of all, then, let's think about your role. So what is the role of the teacher or the adult in the room? And this is in any classroom at any time. Barry Carpenter, professor of mental health in education, he very helpfully said this when he wrote about something called the recovery curriculum, some of you may have read. He said the brain grows in the context of meaningful human-to-human interaction. That's the core of what we are thinking about today. The relationship between you and the students, and the ability to have the children who are with you grow within that relationship, both in the relationship with one another, but much more importantly within the relationship between you and them, because that is the space within which they will, as Barry Carpenter says, they will grow. And how will we create that space? Now, what we're not going to do today is pretend actually that the children are over there somehow and we are over here. So, and what I mean by that is we're not looking at children through a microscope and sort of trying to think, well, look, if we could sort of understand their brains a bit more, we'd be able to kind of manipulate them. We're not those kind of scientists here. We're not sort of examining children at a distance as though they are the ones that need help and we are the ones that don't. And we sometimes think of children in that way in school. Education does that with children all the time, as though they're somehow over there and we're the ones who are already kind of grown and know what's going on. Because we often think of a classroom like this, don't we? That actually there's the teacher, there's the learner, and then there's all of the kind of accoutrements or the stuff of the classroom. Today, though, we're going to think about the teacher in terms of their role, but we're going to think about their dual role. So what is a teacher? So a teacher brings in the content. That's one of the roles. He or she has a, prepare the lesson, they bring in their subject knowledge, and they are the ones that plan learning over time. They bring in the brain, if you like, they bring in the stuff that they're going to share. But they also provide a kind of psychological framework within which that learning takes place, and they are responsible for the quality of the connection in that room. So the content actually won't be transferred to the students if the connection isn't there. And so part of the role of the teacher is to create an environment where the connection is really clear. And part of the way they do that is by bringing in some of these sort of interpersonal elements of kindness, of safety, and a sense of like resourcefulness, of the sense that they're going to share something of themselves with the students. Now, teaching is a personal job. It is a place where you show up as a person, you show up in a professional context, but it very much is a place where you as a person are on display, if you like, and that can be a very challenging space to be in. But that is your role. And I would argue that probably pre-COVID, we had a lot of emphasis on the kind of intellectual, on the content, on the fact that actually here we are as maths teachers, we provide the maths. Here we are as English teachers, we provide the English. And less emphasis on the psychological, on this role of helping people to connect. I think what's become apparent is the role of schools actually, and the role of teachers to provide a space where connection can happen. The challenge for us right now is not so much how we deliver the content, but how we take care of the person. How do we take care of the child? And within that, how do we take care of ourselves within that relationship too? So the post-COVID model, I would say, is much more concerned with this connection and these interpersonal elements, this kind of kindness, safety, resourcefulness. What do we bring of ourselves to the room? Now, in order to understand what we bring and what that relationship between ourselves and the pupils is essentially about, we need to think about the importance of the primary relationship. So the first relationships, if you like, because if you don't understand what a child wants from the relationship between you and them and where that comes from, then actually, you're not really using all of the resources available to you. So that's where we're going to begin. I'm going to think about the baby. So a baby learns in the context of relationship with its primary carer. And in a way, a baby is sort of born into a relationship that's gone wrong for it, because the baby is separated from the safety of the womb. It's having been one with the mother, it is separated and taken and put apart from. And immediately what the baby's instinct is, and what it's born with, is an instinct to reconnect. And it's born with the instinct to suckle, but it's also born with this fear of being dropped. So straight away, it has this desire to reattach, to get back to into a connected place, and at the same time to be held and to be kept safe. Now, in that space where the baby isn't feeling safe, what the baby does is it expresses and expels all of that anxiety through its cries. And it does, by doing that, it's expelling its fear and anxiety out into the world. And it's expelling them because actually to a baby, these sense of not having this being held and not being connected, particularly if it wants to be in connection, is a life-threatening feeling. And it needs desperately to attract the carer to come and take care of him or her. So it expels these emotions, this fear, often this sense of rage will be expelled out into the carer, into the world, and it will find a place in the carer. And what the carer then does is comes and it helps that baby sort of sort those experiences out, and in that relationship with the baby produces a more calming environment. So out goes the anxieties, out go the fear, and they're spat out in rage, if you like. The carer comes along and actually allows the baby to sort of feel that these feelings aren't so threatening and is calmed by the interrelationship, the relationship it has with this mother, this carer who comes and goes. Now, Vega Roberts said this about that relationship. She said, from a psychoanalytic point of view, it's the drive to effect reparation, partly conscious, but largely unconscious, that is the fundamental impetus. It's not interpus. It's the fundamental impetus to all creative, productive, and caring activities. Now, she's very, very clear. What she's actually saying is everything we create, everything we make, and everyone and everything we care about is driven by a desire to connect or reconnect, if you like. That's what we want to do. That's what we're born to do. We're forever trying to reconnect and find a place where we can rejoin, and repair this separated situation that we find ourselves in. So here we go then. This is our first truth, if you want, this first sustaining truth that, here we go, swimming through like a little fish there, that children are wired to connect and make relationships. They want to be in relationship with you and with one another, but particularly with you. And that is a fantastic thing for us to hold on to right now. All of the other stuff that's surrounding the current educational climate, all of the other worries, could actually outshine this simple truth that we are there to be in connection with the children, and the children want to connect with us. They want to make that relationship, and it's right, it's wired in them. So let's take a little step back. So this first relationship then we can think of as the first classroom. It's the place in which the child is learning about itself, if you like, and it's learning about itself and its environment and the world in this relationship with the primary carer. And Ed Tronick said this. He said, look, the role of early caregivers is to regulate an infant through empathetic attunement to its physical emotional needs. So the carer tunes into the physical and emotional needs of the child. And this process helps reinforce an infant's internal sense of self. And he quotes Dr. Shaw, and he says, Dr. Shaw coined the term psychobiological regulator. That is the role of the carer. They help the child sort of understand its own feelings, and by doing that, give the child a sense of who it is. And it was within that relationship that the child grows. And for our benefit, we're calling this a facilitating environment. It's the environment within which the baby learns. So then the child goes to school, and it's this dynamic that follows them there. It's the parental dynamic that becomes the classroom dynamic. Margaret Rustin said that schools join with the family to look after and nurture the child with its special focus on the development of the child's mind. So when that child steps into your classroom, it immediately projects onto you this same idea that you are the carer, you are the person there who will help them with their anxieties. And it doesn't matter whether they're 5 or 15, 8 or 18, this is something that is hardwired into them. And this is something that they will bring with them into the room. So rather than this kind of teacher-learner separation, we've got this overlap between teacher and learner, that the learner comes in and wants to make a relationship with the teacher. And it's within that relationship that that child is wired to learn. That's the classroom. That's the classroom that we need to be concerned about. That's the classroom that we need to make safe for those children. So then the second little fish that swims through, or the second sustainable truth then, is that your role is first and foremost as the containing adult. Like the primary carer, you need to be able to withstand the anxieties, the cries, if you like, and these cries may come out as complaints or accusations, but it's the same kind of idea. So you need to be able to withstand the anxieties of your students and act to help them to connect. And to connect to you and to connect to the learning, because they will also have a relationship with learning too. And you take up this space that Ed Tronick talks about. You become this psychobiological regulator. Sounds like the Terminator, but that's who you become, and it's in the wiring. It's not a choice. It's an unconscious wiring that they arrive with. And this is another sort of idea of this science of kindness, that they're looking for a empathetic, kind space where they can discover who they are. Margaret Rustin said this also. She said, for the child to learn, there must be containment. By containment, we mean this sense of safety. We don't mean control. We mean able to hold what the child brings. For the child to learn, there must be containment of the emotional aspects of his or her life. This means containment at the individual level of the teacher-student relationship between you and them, at the level of the organization of the learning itself. So there has to be containment within the work that you set so that it's not too difficult, it's not too anxiety provoking, that actually within that there's a sense that you know the child and the child can understand that you are bringing something that they can, we're going to talk about it in a second, eat, if you like. And thirdly, the school as an institution. And this may be one of our biggest challenges, to create school environments where individuals are able to collaborate in such a way where they all feel that they are contained, that the anxieties that they come with and spit out will be contained by the institution. And that will take work.